everybody. I hope that you're all doing well. Welcome to today's video. Now, I wanted to do another true crime video, and I will soon. But I wanted to do this first. I've gotten so many requests to do like very famous criminals that are very well known. One of them being Ted Bundy. Now, I thought about doing like a Ted Bundy true crime video, but I feel like it's been done. There are a lot of people that have done it already on YouTube, ASMR and not ASMR. And you know, there's the documentary on Netflix starring Zac Efron, which if you haven't seen it and you're into true crime, I recommend it. It's not a documentary, like it's actually, they made it into a film, and it was really, really well done. So, you know, I feel like all of that has kind of been done. So, I know that you guys really like my facts videos. So, we are once again combining the two. And I have 33 trivia interesting facts about Ted Bundy. So we are just gonna go through and read them. I have not read through them myself. I read through maybe the first like 5. So hopefully some of them are obviously going to be things that some people know, but hopefully some of them will be, you know, new information to us. So let's just get started. Okay, there's a little intro. It says Ted Bundy was an American serial killer, kidnapper, rapist, burglar, and necrophile. Is that how you pronounce that? Let's see some unknown facts and trivia about him. Let's hope they're actually unknown. Okay. The first one. His full name was Theodore Robert Bundy. Number 2. He was born on November 24th, 1946. 3. Shortly before his execution, after more than a decade of denials, he confessed to 30 homicides committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. The true victim count remains unknown and could be much higher. If you've like seen the movie and read documentaries and listened to true crime videos, you know like the things that he did, like sickening. So I wouldn't be surprised if the number was higher, because that man was capable of a lot of really evil things. Number 4. His father's identity has never been determined with certainty. Number 5. His birth certificate assigns paternity to a salesman and Air Force veteran named Lloyd Marshall, but Louise later claimed that she had been seduced by a sailor whose name may have been Jack Worthington. She has no idea. That's interesting. See, I didn't know that. Number 6. Years later, investigators would find no record of anyone by that name in Navy or Merchant Marine archives. 7. Some family members expressed suspicions that Bundy might have been fathered by Louise's own violent, abusive father, Samuel Cowell. Whoa, but no material evidence has ever been cited to support or refute this. Wow, their own family members said that. Okay, see, the movie, I don't think, unless I just don't remember it, didn't really talk about his upbringing that much, but someone like that would have had to have had a rough upbringing of some sort. That's, wow. Number 8, after graduating from high school in 1965, Bundy spent a year at the University of Puget Sound before transferring to the University of Washington in 1966 to study Chinese. Number 9. In 1967, he became romantically involved with a UW, University of Washington, classmate who is identified in Bundy biographies by several pseudonyms, most commonly Stephanie Brooks. 10. In early 1968, he dropped out of college and worked at a series of minimum wage jobs. Number 11. He also volunteered at the Seattle office of Nelson Rockefeller's presidential campaign, and in August attended the 1968 Republican National Convention in Miami as a Rockefeller delegate. So he was involved with some pretty important people. Number 12. Shortly thereafter, Brooks ended their relationship and returned to her family home in California, frustrated by what she described as Bundy's immaturity and lack of ambition. Number 13. Psychiatrist Dorothy Lewis would later pinpoint this crisis as probably the pivotal time in his development. So I guess her leaving him, set him over the edge. Number 14. Devastated by Brooks' rejection, Bundy traveled to Colorado and then farther east, visiting relatives in Arkansas and Philadelphia, and enrolling for one semester at Temple University. My cousin went to Temple University for a little while. 15. It was at this time, in early 1969, Rule believes, who's Rule? Did I miss something? I don't know. Okay, it was at this time, in early 1969, Rule believes that Bundy visited the Office of Birth Records in Burlington and confirmed his true parentage. So I guess that was something that was always on his mind, trying to figure out who his father's side was. I don't know. 16. There is no consensus on when or where Bundy began killing women. He told different stories to different people and refused to divulge the specifics of his earliest crimes, even as he confessed in graphic detail to dozens of later murders in the days preceding his execution. 17. He told Nelson that he attempted his first kidnapping in 1969 in Ocean City, New Jersey, but did not kill anyone until sometime in 1971 in Seattle. 18. He told psychologist Art Norman that he killed 2 women in Atlantic City in 1969 while visiting family in Philadelphia. Number 19. To homicide detective Robert D. Keppel, he hinted at a murder in Seattle in 1972 and another in 1973 involving a hitchhiker near Tumwater, Washington, but he refused to elaborate. I bet he did. 20. Rule and Keppel both believe that he may have started killing as a teenager. It's so creepy that no one actually knows. 21. Circumstantial evidence suggests that he abducted and killed 8-year-old Anne Marie Burr of Tacoma in 1961 when he was 14, an allegation he denied repeatedly. 22. His earliest documented homicides were committed in 1974 when he was 27 years old. 23. By then, he had, by his own admission, mastered the necessary for DNA profiling to leave minimal incriminating evidence at the crime scene. 24. Red Bundy was regarded by many of his young female victims as, I'm assuming that's supposed to say Ted, was regarded by many of his young female victims as handsome and charismatic, traits that he exploited to win their trust. And I'm sure that's why they casted Zac Efron to play him, because I mean they do look kind of similar, but of course Zac Efron is an absolutely beautiful man. But that was like one of my concerns when I found out that they casted him as Ted Bundy, because that just, like, especially someone who doesn't really know about Ted Bundy yet, but then watches that movie, I just didn't want it to like romanticize Ted Bundy as a person and like the things that he did that were so horrific. I didn't want that to be canceled out by it being Zac Efron, you know? 25. He typically approached them in public places, feigning injury or disability, or impersonating an authority figure before overpowering and assaulting them at more secluded locations. I think a couple people in cases that I've covered kind of followed in his footsteps there with that approach. 26. He sometimes revisited his secondary crime scenes for hours at a time, grooming and performing sexual acts with the decomposing corpses until putrefaction. I would have to look that up, I don't know what that means. And destruction by wild animals made further interaction impossible. 27. He decapitated at least 12 of his victims and kept some of the severed heads in his apartment for a period of time as mementos. On a few occasions, he simply broke into dwellings at night and bludgeoned his victims as they slept. Initially incarcerated in Utah in 1975 for aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault, Bundy became a suspect in a progressively longer list of unsolved homicides in multiple states. 29. Facing murder charges in Colorado, he engineered 2 dramatic escapes and committed further assaults, including 3 murders, before his ultimate recapture in Florida in 1971. That I remember from the movie. 30. He received 3 death sentences in 2 separate trials for the Florida homicides. 31. Ted Bundy died in the electric chair at Rayford Prison in Stark, Florida on January 24th, 1989. I was not even born. 32. Biographer Anne Rule, that's who Rule is, described him as a sadistic sociopath who took pleasure from another human's pain and the control he had over his victims to the point of death and even after. You think? 33. He once called himself the most cold-hearted son of a bleep you'll ever meet. Attorney Polly Nelson, a member of his last defense team, agreed. Ted, she wrote, was the very definition of heartless evil. Yeah, that's very true. That I went through a little quicker than I thought I would, so there's another one here that has 37 facts. I just want to see if any of them are different. They kind of look relatively the same, just like worded differently. This is a new one. Bundy expressed a lifelong resentment towards his mother for never talking to him about his real father and for leaving him to discover his true parentage for himself. Yeah, I guess we kind of knew that. Bundy spoke warmly of his grandparents in some interviews and told Rule and Jews beat his wife and the family dog and swung neighborhood cats by their tails. I'm guessing that was his grandfather. That's great. He once threw Louise's younger sister Julia down a flight of stairs for oversleeping. Sounds like a great man. Bundy described his grandmother as a timid and obedient woman who periodically underwent electroconvulsive therapy for depression and feared leaving their house towards the end of her life. Ted occasionally exhibited disturbing behavior, even at that early age. Julia recalled awakening one day from a nap to find herself surrounded by knives from the Cowell kitchen. Her 3-year-old nephew was standing by the bed, smiling. Do we think that's true? That's terrifying. Oh, jeez. Oh, so his mother met a man named Johnny Bundy in 1951. They married a year later, and Johnny Bundy formally adopted Ted, so I guess that's where his last name comes from. And then his mother had 4 children with Johnny. Oh, okay. His social life wasn't that great. He chose to be alone as an adolescent because he was unable to understand interpersonal relationships. He claimed that he had no natural sense of how to develop friendships. I didn't know what made people want to be friends, he said. I didn't know what underlay social interactions. High school classmates said that he was well known and well liked there, which they said that his school was like a medium-sized fish. Oh, he was a medium-sized fish in a large pond. Okay. During high school, he was arrested at least twice on suspicion of burglary and auto theft. When he reached age 18, the details of the incidents were expunged from his record, as in customary in Washington and most other states. The rest seem pretty very similar. So, those are all of the facts for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about like the facts mixed with true crime. Those are 2 of my most popular videos, so sometimes I figure why not combine them. And also leave me recommendations for true crime cases because I do want to do another one pretty soon. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next